Is you confident? I can tell from here you're losing confidence. Whoa. Is you confident? We don't take no risk because we confident.
Hi, my name is Mateo Vatir.
My name's Ryan Gray.
And welcome to the VGC,
aka the Vatir and Gray Conference.
That intro music was brought to you by Sheem Kluaf. All his YouTube links will be in the description, as well as Instagram. I'll put his Snapchat handle, and as well as his SoundCloud link.
He's a really good artist, up and coming, and we recommend that you give him a listen.
Just support him, guys. He's trying really hard to make it in this business. Give him a shout. Anyways, today's topic will be the Kyrie Irving trade and what it means for the Cavs and Celtics and how it'll shape or reshape the Eastern Conference in the upcoming 2017-2018 season.
Now, Mateo, how do you feel about this right now? Because I feel as if the Cavs won the deal.
Personally, I think the Cavs did as well. I mean, Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving, fine, if you do them 1-for-1, the Cavs lose the deal. But you add Jay Crowder, who is a good starting small forward in the league.
Not only that, but he's also a more underrated and very cheap contract. I think that he is a very, very underrated player. And he's going to be on the bench for the Cavs because there's no chance in hell that LeBron's going to be sitting bench. And then you throw in a scrub of Zizic, who has no potential. I don't even know if I pronounced his name right, but who cares?
He's a prospect for the Cavs, as the Cavs don't really have any prospects. They've traded them away over the years by trading their draft picks, for players that will help their playoff run.
Oh, but speaking of draft picks,
and now they've acquired the Nets pick.
Oh man, that's what fucked them over.
But with the Nets pick, where the Nets projected this season, bottom. They're in the bottom 10th of the league. So this pick will be a lottery pick.
Bottom
for sure.
10, bro. They're like bottom 3.
So the issue here now is, Danny Ainge, the guy who loves his draft picks, as we know.
I made jokes.
He's traded away his best draft pick that he has in this draft.
The last Brooklyn pick he actually has.
The Lakers pick that they have, that conditional pick, is good. But it needs to fall within certain parameters for the Celtics to actually own it. So that's why the pick itself is problematic. I feel like Danny Ainge overpaid for Kyrie Irving. Yes, while he built, you can call it a super team with Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, and their other pieces. He also paid a lot for it as well. I mean, Jason Tatum will now probably more than likely be the starting power forward.
No.
I believe he'll be the starting power forward.
I don't feel that way, since I don't feel like Jason Tatum has power forward qualities. I feel as if it will be Morris over him. I want to play devil's advocate, though. I want to see why you think all these things. Kyrie Irving is I wouldn't say that Thomas is a better player than Irving.
I feel like Irving can pull off shots better than Thomas can, and that's just because of his size.
Yes, but the only problem with that is that Thomas is going to be an expiring contract while they have Irving for another 2 years.
But he also has the option to opt out and completely drop, just leave.
But that's the third year of his contract, not
the
second.
But at the same time, I mean, yes, it's good for the contract because Danny Ainge shed that Isaiah Thomas contract. And personally, if you're looking at it from a money standpoint, you're paying Isaiah Thomas $33 million because that's probably what he's gonna ask for.
That's why it's gonna be the least he'll ask for.
So say $33 million. Who else is getting paid $33 million in the league? That's better than Isaiah Thomas. Kyle Lowry is getting paid $33 million, and he's better than Isaiah Thomas.
It's arguable. The only thing is, I'd say defense matters.
And then, but Thomas can't play defense.
He tries at least. At least he tries. I know that it's like guarding a pylon, but I get it.
Trying doesn't win you championships in this league.
Oh yeah, I know.
Defense wins you championships as well as a good offense. But at the same time, you have to look at NBA comparables in terms of contract as to what Isaiah Thomas would be asking for. He's going to ask for Kyrie Irving money, but
is he worth Kyrie Irving money?
Exactly.
At his age, he's going to be. How old is he now? 28. Do you want to give a 34-year-old $40 million? No, you don't. But
the difference is that Kyrie Irving and Isaiah Thomas, they went in the exact same round, same year. Not the same round, sorry. They went in the same year. The big question you got to ask is who's really worth the $35 million? It's not Isaiah Thomas. It's Kyrie Irving.
I feel like Kyrie Irving is a bigger icon to the NBA already. But that doesn't mean shit in my eyes because I feel as if you can be a star player and have no media coverage. Look at Kawhi Leonard.
Well,
Phenomenal player. Doesn't get nearly as much love as he deserves.
let's take a look at the money standpoint for the Cavs as well. I mean, what does this mean for them? I mean, they do shed a really big contract in Kyrie Irving, which was around 33, 34 million, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it was closer to like 20-ish million. I don't think he was in the 30s because when he signed his contract, that they weren't giving out $30 million contracts yet. That only happened in the last 2-3 years.
Fair enough. Say 28, just to hypothetically speculate.
Actually, let's search it up. Let's just... Oh. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, just speculation. I have no clue.
Let's just speculate.
Let's say 25 to 28 million.
Yeah, so just as a speculation, Crowder is making significantly less money
6 million
than a starter would be making in this league. Isaiah Thomas is making the same thing. He's making a lot less than what a good starter would be making in this league. They do shed over 10 million cap space. So where do you think this leads them? I think
they're
LeBron,
still in a lot of financial trouble because
true, yeah.
Thompson has an absolutely disgusting contract for what he provides.
LeBron will demand a supermax, more than likely.
They'll give it to him, no question, because they can, because of
Yeah.
bird rights. But the problem is, I think, does LeBron want to stay? Because why the hell would he has no reason to stay in Cleveland. He's proved his worth. He's already the greatest player that Cavs team will ever have. He's a top 3 all-time player already. He's going up against Michael Jordan as the greatest of all time. People are already debating that.
True, but now let's look at the Cavs starting lineup, just to speculate. So you have Isaiah Thomas at point guard,
Very, very nice pickup.
J.R. Smith at shooting guard, who's
Everyone's favorite
the
player.
Henny God himself.
Any god.
So who plays small forward? Is it LeBron James or Jay
LeBron.
Crowder?
It's LeBron.
So who plays power forward? Jay Crowder.
Kevin Love.
So Jay Crowder's a bench player.
Oh yeah, him and D-Rose.
So you think that Jay Crowder will just be demoted to the bench? Unless they somehow ship out Love or Thompson. Because Thompson, I think Love, he's about 6'6", 6'10", 6'11".
He's listed at 6'10", but he looks closer to 6'8", 6'9" in real life.
You know, if they wanted to, they could slot him at center. It wouldn't be as great as Tristan Thompson, but they could still slot him at center and still compete.
That's a very risky small ball lineup to go up with a 6'10" power forward.
Don't forget, the Heat did run a small ball lineup when LeBron was there, and it worked.
Yeah, that is. I see that.
I mean, let's just speculate. Tristan Thompson gets traded somewhere, wherever the team, whatever team can support that much cap that's coming in. Then you move LeBron James to power forward and Jay Crowder to small forward, because LeBron James is bigger than Crowder.
I mean,
so he'd have the size on people coming into the offense. He could be a better defender than Crowder could.
I feel like the best place for Crowder would be shooting guard just because of his size. If he could somehow morph and turn himself into more of a shooting guard, then he'd be fantastic for that Cavs
But then
offense.
that leaves out J.R. Smith, though. So what do you do with J.R. Smith? Because he's got a big contract as well.
He's a big contract, but he's the worst player on the starting lineup. I'm sorry, I like JR, and he's one of the most loved players in the league, but...
It's just, he's on a super team, and in comparison from his skill level to everyone else on that team, he is the worst. But that doesn't mean that he's bad.
Don't get me wrong. They've got a nice array of shooting guards. They've got J.R. Smith, of course, Iman Shumpert, who's a very underrated defender, and Kyle Korver, who can still knock down threes with his eyes closed.
But, I mean, what kills me here is that J.R. Smith, yes, he is not the best player. He's still a good player. There's no doubt about it. It's just where he is the worst starter on that team. But that's not to knock his skill. I don't know anyone that can make a contested three easier than an open three. I mean, I was watching a playoff game, and this guy can, pull up with your hand in his face.
30 feet from the rim.
And still make it.
Nothing but net.
But when he's wide open, he clanks it. I mean, all jokes aside, he's a great player. But for this Cavs team, I think it's a whole new look. I think they take a step back this season.
Really?
I don't think they're as dominant as they are last year.
One problem I have with the Cavs, I don't think it's the personnel is the problem. I think it's how they play. I feel like Tyronn Lue or Coach LeBron James, either one, is making a certain offense where iso ball is number one. And in a league that's full of dominant teams that use motion offense, such as the Rockets, the Warriors, the Spurs, the Celtics, it hurts because LeBron isolates more than anyone else in the league, and Kyrie did the same. Now, Isaiah almost never isolates, which is the problem. They isolate to the point where it hurts the team, and we all see how well isolation works in New York with Carmelo Anthony. By the way, who should be on the Rockets by now.
But this is my point exactly. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is switching to a play style that he doesn't, maybe not necessarily likes to play, but he doesn't play it. He didn't play it in Boston. This is why I think the Cavs will take a step back. I think it'll take them about a half a season or maybe like a quarter or maybe a fifth of a season to actually gel. And that for Isaiah Thomas to get used to playing a certain play style.
It's going to be the Warriors effect, how Steph Curry had to adjust. Steph, Draymond, and Clay all had to adjust to KD. But as soon as they did adjust, they were unstoppable.
But at the same time, I mean, Isaiah Thomas is not as dominant as Kyrie. Like, Kyrie can light it up. Kyrie can go. Like, Kyrie is Kyrie. He didn't get drafted first overall for nothing in his draft class, man. Like,
I will say, that was actually a surprising number one pick, considering he was injured most of the college year at Duke.
I mean, let's focus on where we project the Cavs and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. So just focus on those two teams. Later videos will come out when we analyze all teams in the East and where their standings will be.
That will be out shortly.
For the Cavs, though, I think the Celtics place above the Cavs.
No,
I think that the Celtics have enough to place above the Cavs. A lot of people said that the Cavs just let the Celtics have it so they could get a better matchup to progress easier through the playoffs last year.
I don't buy that.
I don't buy that either. But at the same time, I think the Celtics can easily do better this season with a better team than what they did last season. And I feel like the addition of Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving just makes that team a better shooter all around. Gordon Hayward's a light out 3-point shooter.
He's a top 5 small forward in the league.
I've always liked Gordon Hayward. Kyrie Irving, same thing. I've always liked Kyrie Irving. He's got a great shot. He's got great handles.
But that's about it. I'm not the biggest fan of Kyrie just because of that. He's a purely offensive player and does not give a crap about defense, which I get in the modern NBA because almost no star players actually play defense.
So, I mean, let's look at this. So, who won the trade here? Just answer the general question.
Cleveland.
Cleveland definitely won the trade. That Nets pick will be something really nice. They'll get a top prospect out of it, which will make their team better in that upcoming season.
Actually, let me rephrase.
Long term, I think Cleveland won, but short term, I think Boston won.
Let me rephrase from what I said. Boston loses the deal if one of three things happen. 1, Kyrie does not commit to this team, and he walks in free agency. Number 2, they do not make the finals in the next 3 years.
Yeah, you think that's... I mean, I don't... I think they'll make... I think they can easily go to the conference finals.
No, I'm saying finals. They have to,
like NBA finals?
I'm saying they have to make the finals or else they lose the deal. And number 3, if this Brooklyn pick turns out to be a star player. Because the top 3 prospects at this moment are Marvin Bagley III, Michael Porter Jr., and Luka Doncic.
I mean, imagine a Cavs team with Michael Porter. Just speculate.
That's interesting.
I mean, that will be a very dominant team in the upcoming season.
I think that team will probably pick up Doncic before Porter just because of his shooting ability. But, again, international players are always a big risk. Yeah. Hit or miss.
But my analyzation of this trade, though, is that short term the Celtics win, but long term the Cavs win for sure. I mean, I feel like they can almost sort of, make Isaiah Thomas take a pay cut. I feel like they can persuade him to take a little bit of a pay cut. Same thing with Jay Crowder.
Depending on how the season goes.
I mean, LeBron James played GM and got Kevin Love on his team. So I feel like LeBron James can persuade them both to take, cheaper contracts, which would allow them to spend more money on whoever else they wanted. But I feel like the Celtics will place above this season. But in the next seasons coming, I think the Cavs will be a better team all around.
See, I see why you believe that the Celtics will place above them. But who's the better team? Let's just be honest. Who's the better team?
Well, I mean, it's the LeBron effect. I mean, whoever has LeBron is always a playoff team.
Yeah, exactly. LeBron will turn any team in the NBA into a title contender right away.
Easily, just because it's LeBron James. He is with the
The
Cavs.
only team, sorry to cut you off there, Mateo, but the only team that I could see him not helping enough are the Atlanta Hawks.
The Cavs are
so
run.
bad.
The Cavs are run by LeBron James. We always joke around and say, "Who's the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers?" LeBron James.
Who's
the point guard? LeBron James.
Who's the shooting guard?
LeBron James.
Who's the small forward?
He plays every position. He's the coach and he's the GM. Hell,
He's the scout too.
If you watch a game where you focus on Tyronn Lue, he just looks like a confused, like they just picked him up off the street. And
It's
said,
like he
"Here
just
you
got
go."
stepped over by Allen Iverson again.
No, it looks like they paid him $100. They gave him $100 bill and said, "Here, just stand here, wear a suit, and look like you know what you're talking about."
Surprised he's still doing the mannequin challenge 8 months later.
But I mean, LeBron's got such a powerful grip on that team that it almost feels like Tyronn Lue has no power or doesn't decide what they do. And that's just the LeBron effect. LeBron is he's a powerful figure. It'd be the same if Jordan was to do it. It'd be the same effect if Jordan did it. But I mean, these two teams will definitely make the Eastern Conference a different image than what it was last year. And it'll be nice to see when they meet again in October and see how that plays out.
Can we just talk about how phenomenal this offseason has truly been? It has been nothing short of fantastic. It feels almost as if the season hasn't stopped. And it's almost as if we are giving hope that the Warriors don't win the championship again.
Well, the Rockets built a team that can almost,
That
compete.
team, that's going to be interesting.
I think it'll be those two in the conference finals. Or it'll be Rockets, Warriors. As for the East, I think it'll be Celtics, Cavs.
No, don't sleep on the Raptors, though. They're still quietly one of the best teams in the East.
But we'll talk about the Raptors in a different episode.
All right, we'll talk about our power rankings soon.
But other than that, guys, it's been me, Mateo Vatier.
Me, Ryan Gray, and we're signing out.